Ever wondered if marrying your cousin is legal or just plain awkward? Well, wonder no more. Today we'll explore the legal labyrinth. Some states are like Romeo and Juliet, others are more keep it in the family, the not so distant science behind the ick factor, and even some cultures where cousin weddings are a cause for celebration. So, tighten up your seatbelts for a
It's going
hilarious
to
and
stay in the family.
informative look that's sure to liven up your next family gathering, or at least give you some awkward silence fodder. All right, let's untangle the family tree. First, let's clear up the difference between your first, second, and once removed cousins. It's all about DNA, folks. And the closer you are on the family branch, the more genetic material you share. Think of it like a family closet. The closer you are, the higher the chance of grabbing the same itchy holiday sweater. But hold on, there's more to the cousin crew than meets the eye. We've got first cousins, practically your childhood partners in crime, or maybe partners in embarrassing family photos, who are the offspring of your aunt or uncle. Then there are second cousins, a bit further down the family vine, the children of your parents' cousins. They might be the ones you see at those awkward family reunions where everyone asks,
So, what do you do for a living?
every single time. Here's the key. First cousins share a whopping 12.5% of your DNA, which is like inheriting both grandma's love of polka music and grandpa's questionable taste in socks. Second cousins, on the other hand, only share around 3%, which is basically the chance of you both having a freckle on your left elbow. Hey, it could happen. As comedian Rodney Dangerfield famously said,
I don't get no respect. I found out my family tree is a cactus. Everybody's sticking me?
well, half siblings definitely wouldn't get that treatment from you since you share a whole 25% of your DNA. That's like inheriting half of Rodney's sense of humor, which, let's be honest, might be a good thing. Now, onto the legal side of things. In the US, things get complicated. Picture this. You met the love of your life, someone who gets your family jokes and remembers your childhood nickname. But there's a catch, and it's not that weird uncle again. It turns out your soulmate is your first cousin. In the wacky world of US law, getting hitched to your cousin can be a legal roller coaster, depending on where you live. Unlike buying fireworks, illegal in some states, totally fine in others, go figure. There's no one-size-fits-all rule for cousin marriage. Some states, like California and New York, are all about cousin love. Get your marriage license, no problem. Others, like Texas and Oklahoma, are like,
That's your cousin.
they might even give you a side eye and point you towards singles night at the nearest rodeo. Then there are states playing matchmaker with some very specific criteria. Imagine Utah or Illinois saying,
Sure, go for it. But only if your soulmate can't have kids, or you're both rocking AARP memberships already.
talk about a unique set of must-haves on your dating profile. Now, before you picture a map of the US color-coded for pro-cousin and anti-cousin states, here's the kicker. Most laws focus on first cousin marriages. Second cousins? They're generally free to tie the knot in all 50 states. So, breathe a sigh of relief if your love interest is a distant relative you barely remember from a childhood reunion. But here's the thing to remember. Legality doesn't equal genetic best practices. Marrying a close relative can slightly increase the risk of your children inheriting certain conditions. Think of it like playing genetic roulette. The odds are still good, but there's a slightly higher chance of landing on a not-so-desirable outcome. So, is marrying your cousin a good idea? It depends on your state laws, your family's comfort level, and maybe even your risk tolerance for a polka-dotted family portrait. If you're concerned, talk to a genetic counselor. They're the real love gurus when it comes to navigating the complexities of DNA. Now keep in mind, I don't make the laws, I only make them available for you. Let's continue. All right, enough legalese. Let's talk about the science behind why some places frown on cousin marriage. It all boils down to genetics. Remember how we said sharing clothes with siblings can get awkward? Well, imagine sharing too many genes with your spouse. It can increase the odds of your kids inheriting hidden genetic glitches. These are like recessive genes. Shy fellows that only cause trouble if you inherit a copy from both mom and dad. Here's the good news. Cue sigh of relief. The risk isn't super high. We're talking about a bump from the usual 2 to 3% chance of a birth defect in the general population to 4 to 6% for children of first cousins. It's like adding a sprinkle of maybe beans to your family recipe. Not a main course of trouble, but something to consider. So why does getting too close genetically up your risk? It's because marriage between close relatives increases the chance of having a child with a recessive condition. Think of genes as instructions in a giant recipe book. DNA. We all have 2 copies of each recipe, one from mom and dad. Now, most genes are pretty chill. They might code for eye color or your love of terrible puns, looking at you biology textbooks. But some genes hold sneaky instructions for diseases. Sometimes, just 1 copy of the bad recipe is enough to cause trouble. But recessive genes are like shy cooks. They only cause problems if you get 2 copies of the same faulty recipe, one from each parent. Here's the catch. We all carry around an average of 12 not-so-great recipes, these recessive variants. Luckily, we also have a healthy copy from the other parent, so these sneaky chefs usually stay in the kitchen. But if you marry someone who happens to have the same bad recipe you do, well, that's when things get risky for your kids. There's a 1 in 4 chance, or 25%, that they might inherit both copies and end up with the condition. The more DNA you share with someone, the higher the odds you have the same not-so-great recipes. So, marrying a close relative increases the chance your kids might inherit 2 copies of the same bad recipe. According to the Clinical Genetics Handbook, probably not a summer bestseller, children of unrelated couples have a 2 to 3% chance of a birth defect, while children of first cousins have a 4 to 6% chance. It's not a massive leap, but it's a bump in the road. Here's the kicker. The genetic risk for second cousins having children is as low as any 2 unrelated people. So, relax, second cousins, your family tree isn't quite as tangled as you might think. The world of cousin marriage is like a family reunion gone wild. In some cultures, it's the ultimate act of keeping things in the family, like a royal family passing down the crown, and maybe a few recessive genes for generations. It can be a way to ensure your heirlooms stay put, or maybe just an excuse for a less awkward blind date with someone you already know embarrassingly well. But picture your grandma saying,
"You, David."
at the wedding announcement. That's the reaction in other cultures, where cousin marriage is a big no-no. Laws around it are just as crazy as your aunt's fruitcake recipe. Some states in the U.S. throw a confetti parade for cousin love, while others slam the door shut faster than you can say Alabama. It all boils down to a mix of genetic concerns, because recessive genes love family reunions too much, and cultural beliefs. So, is marrying your cousin a recipe for disaster or happily ever after? It depends on where you live, your family's history of glow-in-the-dark skin, hopefully not, and if you're okay with jokes about your family tree being a circle. If you're worried about the genetic risks, don't panic. Genetic counselors are like fortune tellers for your genes, giving you a heads up on any potential issues. And hey, some states are even starting to loosen up on cousin marriage laws. Just this year, Virginia became the latest state to consider placing a ban on first cousin marriage. Looks like love is finding a way, even among cousins. While some states are like, get thee to a nunnery when it comes to cousin couples, others are embracing a more love is love approach. Looks like even Cupid needs a map these days because there are actually quite a few states that are perfectly okay with cousin love. We're talking about places like California, the land of Hollywood endings, and maybe some Hollywood family drama. New York, where anything goes, including apparently marrying your cousin. And even Alabama, where maybe Sweet Home Alabama takes on a whole new meaning. Also in Alaska, Colorado, Connecticut, the District of Columbia, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vermont are all waiting with open arms, and hopefully not too many disapproving glances from distant relatives for your special day. Just remember, while the laws may be changing, that awkward Thanksgiving dinner conversation topic probably isn't going anywhere. So if you're a Romeo and Juliet situation, but you're both Juliets or Romeos, there's still hope. Just double check your state's laws first, because unlike Shakespeare, we can't guarantee a happy ending if you elope to the wrong place. Remember, we're not here to judge your family tree, just to explore the fascinating world of laws, love, and genetics. Tell us what you think about this topic. Leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. May your family trees never get too tangled. See you next time.